guys, welcome to Brand X Reviews. This one I'm just going to be talking about a lot of the recent discussion that's been ongoing regarding the recasting of James Bond after Daniel Craig steps down. Now, it's kind of a bit of a weird situation at the moment because a lot of people out there are understandably thinking this is Daniel Craig's last film, Spectre, because they've read it, that he said, I'm bowing out. To a certain degree, he did say that in one interview where he said, he doesn't think he's going to be coming back. But then again, recently, I think it was even as recent as about a week ago as I'm recording this in early October, he said, he could still come back. He's happy to. I think it was Empire magazine that he did an interview with, or one of those film magazines anyway. So don't write off Daniel Craig as yet anyway. So let's just put it that way. But the actual conversations that have been kind of going on, a lot of it's been blogs and just entertainment sections in newspapers have just been writing articles and giving credibility to suggestions that certain people are like front runner or up for playing James Bond, and some have just been absolutely ridiculous. And this is nothing new because we've seen this before, going back to the late 90s. When I think Pierce Brosnan was still, I think his latest film at the time was Tomorrow Never Dies. So if you look at that in context, back in 1998, he'd just done Tomorrow Never Dies before, and they were already talking about who the next James Bond was going to be that year. And he had another film coming out the year after that in 1999, The World Is Not Enough, and then he did another one back in 2002. And if that hadn't really been a bit of a disappointment, he probably would have done more as well. So as early back on as then, people were saying, no, there's going to be like a new one. And who was that new one they were talking about in 1998? Why am I remembering this very specifically, pinpointing it to that year? They were talking about Robbie Williams being the next James Bond because he'd done this music video, pretty good song to be fair, back in the day, called Millennium, which was obviously paid homage to James Bond. And there's a lot of that kind of thing. He was kind of messing about in the middle of a field with the Thunderball jetpack on and all that stuff. And he said made it Pinewood Studios. It was to pay homage. It was pretty good. Like I said, it's a pretty good song. It's a pretty good video as well. It's a classic. But back then, people were saying that's it. He's going to be the next James Bond because he did this video. It was utter rubbish, utterly baseless. Robbie Williams was not an actor in any way, really. So what the hell? And we're still seeing this stupid trend today where people are saying David Beckham is going to be the next James Bond, or maybe, or he's in negotiations to do it, regardless of the fact that, like I said, kind of preface this video with Daniel Craig's not really out of the thing yet. And people are saying about David Beckham being the next James Bond and kind of believing it and thinking, oh, this might happen. It's never going to happen. They would never hand such a franchise to, a plank of wood like David Beckham, who, from what I understand, can't act. Has he acted in anything, really? I kind of doubt it. I haven't really followed his career that intimately, to be honest, but as far as I know, he wouldn't really be most people's top pick. Let's just put it that way. So that's just one example. I mean, there's plenty of others as well. Some haven't been so incredible. I mean, some people have said, guys like Tom Hardy, I guess, who's very well respected, by myself included. He's one of my favourite actors. I personally wouldn't pick Tom Hardy to be James Bond. I'd rather see him do other stuff because I think he could shine a bit more in other roles. But then again, I could be wrong. He could be great in it if Daniel Craig was stepping down, which I don't think he is. I did a video back in, I think it was December last year, talking about the whole Idris Elba. I don't know if I've pronounced his name right, Idris Elba. I'm a big fan of his, don't get me wrong, I just can't pronounce his name. But there's been a lot of talk about him playing James Bond as well, which is ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. Nothing to do with the fact that he's black. He's too old, he's way too old for it, and I am a massive Idris Elba fan. Like I say, I've been watching Luther recently for the first time, and just wow, what a great British actor we've got there. But he's too old to be James Bond. He's he's in his late 40s now, and I've covered this in my previous video when I talked about it. If Daniel Craig was to step down after this was his last film, they're going to leave it at least 3 years before they kind of reboot it with another actor. At least 3 years. So Idris Elba would be in his early 50s. So let's say 52. Not got a lot of longevity. They want to keep an actor in the role for a minimum of 10 years, really, ideally, when they're setting these contracts up and stuff. They want to keep him on for quite a few films. So he'd be like well into his 60s by the time he's, running out of steam as James Bond or whatever. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not unheard of. Roger Moore did a lot of James Bond films when he was in his early 60s. And in fact, I actually prefer the later Roger Moore films to the early Roger Moore films. So age isn't necessarily a major thing, but it's a significant one. And I think with Idris Elba, like I say, he's way too old. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's really charming. He looks like he can handle himself and all that stuff. And he's a great actor as well. So a lot of this stuff that's there, a lot of the things you would assign, if you were to describe James Bond, like I say, he's charming, he's physically capable of just dealing with dispatching people, bad guys, that kind of stuff. He's very intelligent, all that kind of thing, and he's British as well. Those would be the main things you would describe, or you would assign to James Bond. Idris Elba, yes, tick, tick, tick. The fact that James Bond is white wouldn't be the first thing that comes into your mind when you're describing him. So him being black, to me, it'd be interesting. It'd be a bit weird, I guess, because we do have lines of division in terms of ginger people, people with mustaches, whatever, thin people, fat people. We have a kind of view of what we think James Bond should be. So I can see the argument. If somebody says he's black, shouldn't be James Bond. I don't think that's racist. I can understand it. A lot of people saying, "Oh, you're racist if you say that." And, I don't think so. It's, people kind of had a problem with Daniel Craig because he's not like very bright blonde hair, but he's a lot fairer than what you would assign to be James Bond, and it's an iconic thing. The James Bond character is an iconic thing. You assign certain things to an icon, such as his height, his colour of his hair, his age, all that kind of stuff. So people are going to have problems with stuff like that. Like I say, I personally would like to see Idris Elba in a Bond film, but look at the bigger picture. It's really not going to work given his age. That's not the point of this video anyway. I'm just saying kind of the ridiculousness of it. But I don't think they're going to be recasting James Bond for a long time. A lot of people as well, this is another kind of thing that's ridiculous about this. They're kind of talking about it as if like it's going to be announced who the next James Bond is. No, that's not going to happen. It would, like I say, it would be years before we see the next James Bond film. I think even with Daniel Craig, it's probably going to be... They usually leave it 3 years between films. If they do it every 2 years, it can kind of get stale. I think they like to leave it 3 years, just so that people don't get bored. And then you've got the whole like James Bond is back kind of thing after he's been away for a few years. You get more out of it, I think. So Daniel Craig is going to be... if he's not coming back, it's going to be a few years before they recast him and do another film. And they usually cast James Bond about a year before the first film with that new actor comes out. So say if the next film is to come out in 2018, bare minimum, they're not going to announce it until 2017. And that's way earlier than I imagine will actually happen if Daniel Craig doesn't come back. So we're having this conversation now in 2015 when bare minimum it's going to be 2017 before they announce who the new actor is. It's an absolute it's a non-issue, to be fair. And especially, like I say, when people are saying, is David Beckham going to be James Bond? No, guys, he's not going to be James Bond. Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Just so you know, for more news, reviews and retrospectives, you can like our page on Facebook, simply called Brand X Reviews. But as well as that, you can also subscribe to us on YouTube via this video. You can also bookmark our website, which is brandxreviews.com, which is pretty much a central hub for everything that I've just mentioned. So check that out and we will see you next time. Thank you very much.